On December 2nd, 2015, terror hits Southern California's Inland Empire in an act of terror that resulted in 14 murdered and 21 wounded. This also includes 2 officers, one from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, as well as the San Bernardino Police Department. Both of the perpetrators were dead on scene. They're identified as Saeed Farouk and his wife Tashfeen Malik. This took place in San Bernardino, California, about 60 miles east of Los Angeles. Here is what we know as is being reported throughout Los Angeles. And I actually live about half an hour west of where this incident took place. Farouk, 28, was currently an inspector for the San Bernardino County Environmental Health Department and was attending the holiday meeting and luncheon at the center when he left and later returned and along with his wife began a shooting spree and then left the scene. Law enforcement responded quickly, but the suspects were gone. The couple then led police on a chase that ended when one or both suspects began firing through the back window of the SUV and law enforcement officers responded with a hail of return fire that ended with both suspects dead on the scene. Let's go to the statement by the San Bernardino Police Department Chief Jared Bergwan, where he gives the details of the armaments found not only on the scene, inside of the vehicle and near the persons themselves, but at a Redlands, California house. That includes thousands of rounds of ammunition and pipe bombs or IEDs.
Here at the scene at the Inland Regional Center, what we have total is we believe the suspects, when they entered, fired somewhere between 65 and 75 rounds from their rifles at the scene. We did locate the one pipe bomb. There was actually 3 pipe bombs combined into one that had a remote control car type remote control device that appears to have not have worked in this case. There were also 4 high capacity 223 rifle magazines that were dropped by the suspects and left in there as evidence that have been recovered. I can confirm that the suspects were wearing the black style tactical gear that we talked about yesterday. They were not wearing ballistic bulletproof vests. What they did have, and what people may have confused, is they had tactical style vests that held equipment and magazines and ammunition and that sort of stuff. Sorry? Yeah, load-bearing gear. On the officer-involved shooting that took place a couple of hours after the incident, we talked yesterday about how that came to be, how we ended up at that point in the investigation, and what we were following up on. On the officer-involved shooting that occurred, we had 7 police agencies that were involved in that shooting, including our department, the Sheriff's Department. I think we had 14 of our police officers involved. And then there were various other agencies that were all part of some of the local task force that had come to assist in the initial response. Of the 7 agencies involved, we had 23 officers that were actually fired their weapons at the suspects. Law enforcement fired approximately 380 rounds at the suspects. Both of them were killed here at the scene. The suspects are believed to have fired about 76 rifle rounds at the officers at the termination of the pursuit. How many? 76 is our number that we have right now. However, on them, on their person, on their body, and in the vehicle, they had over 1,400 .223 caliber rounds that were available to them, and they had over 209 millimeter rounds on their persons as well. 209 millimeter rounds. We talked about yesterday they had the 223 assault style weapons, rifles, and they had 9 millimeter pistols with them.
1,400 on the 223?
1,400 on the 1,400 223 rounds, 209 millimeter rounds. On their person, yes. On their person or immediately in the vehicle around and available to them. Let me get to a few others. We had 2 officers that were injured in that incident. One of them was a San Bernardino police officer that sustained a gunshot wound to his left leg. He was taken to a local hospital last night. He is probably going to be released this morning if he has not already been released. His injuries are not life-threatening. I did visit with him in the hospital last night. He's in good spirits. We also, as of this morning, learned that there was a second deputy that was also injured in the incident, sustained some cuts to his leg that we believe probably came from broken glass or shrapnel. We're not exactly sure, but 2 officers total were injured in that exchange. The house in Redlands that became part of the focus of this investigation yesterday. I will confirm that the search that took place revealed that there were 12 pipe bomb type devices found in that house or in the garage to that house. There were also hundreds of tools, many of which could be used to construct IEDs or pipe bombs. And in addition to that, they had other material to have produced some additional bombs as well. There were another 2,000 9mm rounds found at that house, over 2,500 .223 rounds that were found at that house, and then there were 2,500, and there were additional several hundred .22 long rifle rounds that were found there.
The FBI Assistant Director for the Los Angeles office is David Burdich. Here are his comments when queried about this being associated with terrorism.
The amount of obvious pre-planning that went in, the amount of armaments that he had, the weapons and the ammunition, there was obviously a mission here. We know that. We do not know why. We don't know if this was the intended target or if there was something that triggered him to do this immediately. We just don't know. And again, that's going to take time for us to get to that answer. It would be irresponsible and premature of me to call this terrorism. The FBI defines terrorism very specifically, and we are still, that is the big question for us, is what is the motivation for this? First and foremost, the integrity of this investigation, again, is paramount. Secondly, it's ultimately determine the motive and the inspiration for this attack.
Now, President Obama said that
there may be mixed motives involved in this, which makes the investigation more complicated.
CNN is reporting that Saeed Farook was apparently radicalized and in touch with people being investigated by the FBI for international terrorism, law enforcement officials said on Thursday, December 3rd. Now, what we have here is a clear-cut contradiction between the president, the feds, and CNN. All signs show this to be a situation where a terrorist act was clearly within their means given the amount of ammunition and IEDs at the disposal of Farook and his wife Malik. Let's ask those who've served in the armed services and lost limbs or loved ones if IEDs are used for terrorism. We all know the answer to that question. Now, Farook met Malik went on a pilgrimage to Mecca in 2013, and according to FBI Assistant Director Burdich, they entered the United States on a K-1 visa and on a Pakistani passport. This is Malik. The K-1 visa is issued to the fiancé, male or female, of a U.S. citizen to enter the U.S., though it requires a foreign citizen to marry the U.S. citizen within 90 days of entry, or they must depart the United States. Now, Malik and Farook were married in 2014, and they had a 6-month-old baby daughter. KCAL's Elsa Ramon reported the pair dropped the baby off to a grandparent and said they had a dentist appointment. This is prior to the shooting. It has been reported by numerous media outlets that Farook was a former business taxes representative for the California State Board of Equalization. He is a 2003 graduate of La Sierra High School. Reports also said Farook recently studied finance at Cal State Fullerton until 2013. Farook, 28, again, was currently an inspector for the San Bernardino County Environmental Health Department and was attending the holiday meeting or luncheon at the center when he left and later returned and along with his wife began a shooting spree. Now here is where the story gets personal for me, as lifelong personal friends of mine were affected by this tragic event. One is a health inspector who has actually seen reports from Farook and was located around the corner from the facility, conducting inspections himself at the time of the incident. This was posted last night on his Facebook, though I'm not revealing any further information other than that he was safe at the time of the shooting. A second personal friend who has given me his name to use, he is the father of a developmentally disabled youth who was on site at the Inland Empire Regional Center where the massacre took place. He informs me in text messages. Today we had a scheduled meeting with an employee who works at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. I was at work driving to San Diego to make some deliveries, and I was listening to Fox News on Sirius XM radio. When I heard the name of the facility, I listened intently to the host who was reporting at the time. After listening for a few minutes, I called my wife and informed her of the incident. I asked her to call our rep. She did so, but she did not get a response. Knowing what we knew at the time, we feared the worst. My wife immediately left work to pick up our boys early from high school. She then came home just to make sure that the rest of our children were okay. Our rep actually arrived at our home at about 1 p.m. She had just found out about the incident over her personal car radio. When she arrived at the house, my wife was very relieved to see her. They discussed the incident together. My wife stated to her that if she didn't want to continue with the appointment, she was more than welcome to reschedule based on the current events. But like a trooper, she stated that it would be better for her to concentrate on the task at hand. She had called her own husband and her daughter to let them know that she was fine. After the appointment, she drove back to her home. She didn't go back to the Inland Regional Center. Now, it is unusual, Eric also reports, to actually know where an incident is occurring, to be able to visualize the building, the hallways, the parking lot. It's quite surreal and scary, for lack of a better word, when something like this hits close to home. I felt so anxious, nervous, concerned, fearful, and yes, even helpless. I just wanted to get home so that I could see my wife and my children safe, so that I could comfort them with my words and my presence. Knowing Eric over the lifetime as I do, having gone to school with him, I know Eric very well. But being the professional that I am, he continues, I carried on, completed my tasks for the day, and started heading back. All the while listening to the radio for any more information about this terrible incident. Constantly checking in with everyone at home just to make sure that they were okay. I finally got home at 8:30 p.m. I am now watching the news coverage from the comfort of my own bedroom. It's nice to be home.